Many organisations are only just beginning their sustainability journey in order to achieve the government's targets of meeting net zero by 2050. But one organisation that's already making giant strides is Muntons in Stowmarket, the world's leading malt and malted ingredients producer. And I'm delighted to be joined by Kate Dixon, who's the Head of Marketing, Innovation and Sustainability at Muntons. So in a moment we're going to talk about what you have actually been doing in terms of sustainability. But first of all, just explain a little bit about Muntons.
Of course. So here at Muntons we make malt and malted ingredients, as you referred, and we think we have the best job in the world. So basically we go into your beer and your whisky and your chocolate and your cakes and your bread and your breakfast cereals, so all the good stuff in life. So we take your barley from the field, we process it here through the kilning process, we turn it into malt, and then we process it further as a natural process into an extract, and then eventually into flours and dried products, which then go out into the world to some of the biggest brands in the world.
Some people might think of that as being very carbon intensive, particularly when you think of lorries coming in and out of your plant, whether it's bringing product from the fields or taking product away, and then you've got the actual process itself. So how do you square that circle in terms of sustainability? How do you become a more sustainable production facility when you have all these competing issues?
So I think it's a really good question. So it's a natural process. We come from the field. It's a bit like cooking in your kitchen. You have to bring something in and you do have to use heat and you do have to use water, and there is energy involved. And you're right, because of the nature of having to heat it to quite high temperatures, and then you kind of do roasting and you do processing of it, it is very energy intensive. But that's why we started our sustainability journey well over 15 years ago now, in recognition that we might be a traditional over 100 years old company, but that doesn't mean we can't embrace modern technology to make it in a better way. So we still produce what we need to produce, but in a much far less damaging way to the planet.
So what sort of things have you actually done?
So what we've done, so the first step, which a lot of people do, is you start by having to understand your numbers. So we had to first understand actually where were the problematic spots in our business. You know, did we have an issue with energy? Naturally, yes, it came to the top, but you could assume it, but you want to double check it. So the first thing we did was actually do a carbon calculator, and we worked out and mapped our whole process from start to end and where all of the carbon heavy pockets were and what we thought we could do to influence it. I think one of the really exciting things that we were able to do was we've invested in quite a lot of big pieces of kit, so there's been a lot of investment happened. Part of the advantage we had was being by a first mover. There was quite a lot of support out there for sustainability structures and infrastructure. So we've invested in 2 big biomass plants, for example. We have an anaerobic digester on site. We have reed beds. We have a wastewater treatment plant. You know, so we've invested in a lot of things that have helped us fundamentally decarbonise our own energy. And the attitude and the approach that Muntons has taken is wherever possible, we genuinely make tangible change to ourselves. So what we don't believe is in, I don't know, buying green energy from the grid. Brilliant. As a remainder of your energy requirement, but if possible we're physically trying to change how we ourselves tangibly impact our own carbon wherever possible.
But that is a major cost, and for a lot of people they just can't go down that route. They can't invest in these really big structures. So Absolutely. What do they do instead?
Well, so then you have to start looking and saying, well, what else can I do? So you might not be able to do all the structures, but perhaps you can then source green energy. You might be able to look at solar panels on your roofs. You know, so the first thing you have to do is look at whether or not there are some infrastructure parts or how you're purchasing things that are greener. But otherwise, fundamentally, try and use less in the first place. So how do you look at your processes to try and make them more efficient in their own right, so that you are, you know, because I think we can look at our own houses. How many of us put an oven on to heat up and forget about it for 3/4 of an hour, and then we put our potato in and then we leave it on and then we go, oh gosh, we started eating and we've forgotten to turn it off. You know, even just being mindful at home saves carbon and saves energy. It's the same principle in an organisation here with any manufacturing production. But the difference is we've got some really clever people, so they know it better, far better than I know it. And they're able to go, well, actually what we can do is this, and we can steep for slightly shorter here, and we can do this here, and these will all impact how much energy we actually have to use, but still produce an amazingly high quality product out the end.
Now, you are an organisation that fits our 5 C's of conscience marketing perfectly. So we start with the first C, which is customers. I'm very interested to know how your customers have actually taken this. Are they behind you? Are they worried that you're going to charge them more money because it's costing you and you're having to offset it in that way? Or are you actually getting more customers as a result? What impact have you had?
So when we first started doing this, I can remember at the time our director of sustainability was going out into the brewing world, and he was standing at conferences, and there'd probably be crickets and 5 people if he was lucky in the audience. And as the time has gone on, it's lovely to see just what a sea change has happened, especially in the brewing and distilling world and in the food industries. And there's been a real adoption of sustainability and the requirement and the fundamental need. There's an imperative to do some sustainability activities. What we found is, as a result, as time's gone on, it's now becoming a real commercial advantage to us. We have customers coming to us asking for more malt, because if you think about it, we are the scope 3 of our customers. So that's the quickest way they can actually impact their own scope 3 numbers, is to look at their raw ingredient suppliers. And obviously we're the perfect choice, because we've decarbonised in malt, for example, 63%. We are 63% less of a carbon footprint than traditional malt.
So basically what you're talking about here is the importance of the supply chain, because you're an element of that supply chain. If you've got your business right in terms of sustainability, you're going to win new customers, new clients who are desperate to ensure that they reduce their carbon footprint.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. But how do you convey all this from a marketing perspective? Because how do your customers know that you've made these changes? What sort of things have you had to do wearing your marketing hat?
So in terms of the marketing strategies that we have, there's a number of them. There's one piece which has been around going for awards and credentials.
Which is, of course, one of our C's.
One of our C's, because they tend to be very public, and they tend to have quite good reach. The other is we're doing some, for example, collaboration and campaigns targeted at specific customer groups. So, for example, craft brewers. You might, if you look on our socials, you'd have seen a recent campaign with Northern Monk, for example, where we've done a lovely, really low carbon beer. We produce every year an ESG report that is available to all our customers, and the sales guys will take that out.
And on sustainable paper?
Of course, naturally, it's all got to follow. We have done quite a lot in terms of starting to do messaging on site. So when people come to our site, it's visibly and tangibly a part of who we are as a brand. So even if you bring an electric car to site, you can see there's signs there that say this electric car is being charged by the waste produced on our site.
That's amazing.
So there's lots of lovely circular economies kind of happening there in terms of our thinking. So there's a number of different facets. And then the other one that we do is we do quite a lot of talks. So because we are, I think, fairly knowledgeable in the world of sustainability in brewing and distilling, especially, we've been able to go out and speak at conferences and help bring people on the journey. One of our big things that we believe in is bringing people with us. So collaboration and bringing people on the journey. So, for example, for our employees, we've just launched Sustainability School, and we've produced a whole series of educational videos, and all of our employees have the ability to access these and educate themselves fully. They've always been engaged, because obviously it's a massive thing for us as a company, and every employee has a part to play. So it's lovely to be able to help bring up some of the knowledge aspect of it, because everybody knows sustainability, but they might not know sustainability is more than net zero. Sustainability goes broader than that, and I think a lot of people get into a carbon tunnel. So we're starting to give them the language and the words, and therefore a closer link to how their actions help.
Now, Sustainability School sounds absolutely brilliant as a concept, because one of our C's is colleagues, and I think one of the issues that people will often reference is how they bring their colleagues on board on this journey, for want of a better word. How do they get them involved and understand what the issues are around sustainability, and particularly in the workplace? So with Sustainability School, what kind of response have you had then from your colleagues, and how else do you involve them in what you're doing?
It's been a really positive response, really, really good, and it's now become part of a standard induction process to any new employees, so that everybody is really fully immersed and knows how important it is to Muntons. It's really good that we've got a common theme and a common goal there. Linking into that, because we're quite mature now in our journey on sustainability, and it's one of our main strategic pillars. So we have 4 pillars: One of them is sustainability, and it's the planet. So linked into that now, this year is the first year where we've actually given every single employee a goal on their work development plan. So everybody now has an ownable goal where they can see tangibly how they contribute to our sustainability journey. So obviously they differ according to your job and according to your role, and they come down in, into different kind of pockets. So some might be looking after water conservation, others are making sure that they're being energy efficient, so they're very differentiated across the business, but everybody has a role to play in sustainability here at Muntons.
And part of sustainability is the role that you have in your communities, and I don't just mean local communities where you're based, but those wider communities, whether it's those professional and business communities as well. What role does Muntons have here? How do you see what you're doing in terms of sustainability and involving your communities, or even just your charitable endeavours?
So I think one of the things we really believe in is trying to impact very much. It feels heartfelt, tangible. So one of the things we did, for example, at Christmas is instead of doing a big donation to one organisation, we gave the employees the money and said, right, you choose where it's going. So every employee got monies in their name and they got to decide which charity it went to. And then we wrote a cheque to that charity with their name signed by Muntons and our employee's name. So that was a really lovely initiative. And then it also obviously then gets to the heart of the community. It's because all of a sudden you weren't sponsoring necessarily all the big charities, but it was going to a brownies unit, and it was going to the Scouts, and it was going to mental health in the local community, and it was really lovely charities. So that was absolutely wonderful. And just as a sidebar, as a marketing head, it was an absolute nightmare getting the thank you notes for over a month, because I don't think I had a 9 o'clock in the morning where I didn't get slightly upset by some lovely thank you note coming in. Aww. The impact it had.
Yeah. Well, from a marketing perspective, it also makes good publicity as well, doesn't it? Or is that me being mercenary? I suppose. But
it's never bad to have both.
No. But it is about playing your part, playing a bigger role in society, isn't it? It isn't just about doing the job. And the 5 C's is, very much, we've talked about customers, and the climate is intrinsically linked into what you're doing. Another one is our communities and our colleagues, which we've talked about. Now, 5th C, credentials, I'm really keen to explore further with you, because a big part of what you're doing in terms of sustainability is letting people know about it. Otherwise, how would people know? You've talked about the education, but winning awards or gaining accreditations, getting accolades, joining associations, I call them my A's, even accountability. All that is part and parcel, isn't it, of this bigger picture. So I'm going to come on to the big one. Congratulations, you won the King's Award for Sustainability. Tell us about that.
So that was a really big one. We're very, very proud. It was a lot of work, but I think we felt quite confident, actually, because to your point about accreditation, accountability and accreditation, we've done so much work over the years that we know our numbers. We have confidence in what we've done. None of it is greenwashing. We've got tangible evidence of all of the work that's happened, and we've had that verified externally. So when it came to the King's Award, it was a lot of work, because I have to say they are tough. They are definitely the hardest award we've ever had to go for. Took us about 3 to 4 months. But equally, you felt confident because you've got the rightful pride in the journey that we've been through. So we were able to put forward all the work that we've done, because it wasn't a reflection of the last year, it was a reflection of 15 years of every single employee here at Muntons contributing to the journey we'd been on. And so then when it did come in, it was a real moment of absolute joy.
And an incredible achievement, because you are one of very few that actually has that award, as I understand.
26 in the country.
Yeah, which is amazing, isn't it? So that really is a great badge of honour. And it's not just that award, you've won a number of awards for sustainability now within your industry as well, haven't you?
We have, yes. So, for example, there's something called the RMI Award. Probably won't have heard of it unless you're a brewer. But it's like the Oscars of brewing, that's the best way to describe it. And we just won it this year for the 3rd time.
Wow.
So
I've seen the big, looks like a huge giant cowbell in your reception. Yeah, it's
which our MD has had to bring back in the past on the Eurotunnel.
Amazing. Is there a final message then that you would give to business owners or marketers when it comes to kind of rethinking maybe the way that they're doing things, the way that they're marketing themselves, the way that they're promoting what they're doing in terms of the bigger picture when it comes to sustainability. Is there a final thought that you might have?
I think what I would say is sustainability. I think in the past, people have said sustainability and they think of it as the journey to net zero. I know a lot of people would say there's that association. And as you and I have talked about with conscience marketing, sustainability isn't just the net zero journey. That's a major part of it, and it's really important, and it's the one you're probably going to get graded on the most, if you like, from external pressures. But sustainability to me is all encompassing and all facets of your business. So it is your colleagues, it is the community, it is your credentials, it's everything involved. And so I would say don't be naive in just looking at your carbon journey. Actually sit and think of yourselves as if you were the centre of the business and how you make the entire business live the ethos of sustainability. And then you're guaranteed, I think, to feel it'll radiate from there and the message will spread because it's in everything you do.
And I know you've got further exciting plans on the horizon when it comes to all the things you're doing in terms of sustainability and marketing. So we'll keep an eye out for that in future.
Do please.
Hopefully we'll talk to you at a later date about those. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your story about what you've been doing at Muntons and particularly
My absolute pleasure.
sustainability. Thank you so much.
Thank you.